Dear friends of Powershoots TV, Positive Energy in Europe. Today I'm in the European Commission and it's really my great pleasure to welcome the Director General for Migration and Home Affairs, Matthias Ruete. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and it's great to see you again.
Yes, it's always a pleasure. So, Director General for Migration and Home Affairs, please explain us first what are you doing exactly, what it is. And for sure, of course, of the citizen side, maybe always the benefit, why the citizens in Europe benefit of your work.
Well, I can say that citizens of Europe benefit of my work, first of all, because we are contributing to the security of the individual citizen in the European Union. We are to a certain extent on the European Union level something like a Ministry of Interior, making sure that criminality is fought against. Europol is, for instance, under our remit in this DG. We are involved in making sure that we fight terrorist crime, organized crime. So that's one of the strands of the work that we are doing.
Okay.
A second strand, which is also quite interesting and important for citizens, is that we deal with visa policy.
Oh.
Visa policy, which means that those who have, for instance, relatives coming from third countries, these people get the famous Schengen visa. Can come as tourists, can come also as students, and I'll say something a little bit later on that, although this is not then with the Schengen visa. And then the third thing that we do is, in reality, we make sure that those people who come to Europe legally, either through visas or because they're searching for work, or they want to come as students, or they want to become as educators, or they want to become as seasonal workers, have a common framework under which they know that they can come to Europe.
Great. Many people don't know what is now the Schengen era. Please explain us first the difference between Europe and the Schengen era, and then yes, this legal migration, because migration is always a hot issue.
But let me start off with the Schengen area. The Schengen area was a great idea at the time when we were actually doing the internal market. And it was actually, first of all, an idea between 5 member states to get rid of internal border controls. I'm old enough to remember that when I was traveling from Germany to Belgium, that I had to stay for 1 hour in a queue because there were border controls.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember that huge queues in airports when we were flying somewhere. And we got rid of these internal border controls between, first of all, 5 member states. And then this actually was seen as very attractive by a lot of others. And so we have now a Schengen area, which involves most member states of the European Union. There are only 2 who actually do not participate in this, which is the UK and for other reasons Ireland. And we have actually increased the Schengen area also to states which are not in the European Union. Norway, Switzerland, just to give you
so the Schengen area is bigger.
It's bigger than the European Union, and in little parts slightly smaller. But the overall benefit is you actually do not have internal border controls.
Yes.
And that then means, obviously, that we have to make sure that the external border controls are better.
And that's also explaining that you work really hard on the legal migration.
Legal migration, we are at the moment negotiating a blue card, which already exists, but we're trying to make it better. Which would attract talents to the European Union. We have just finished negotiating some new rules for students and researchers. We will make life for people working in the European Union, for large corporations, much easier because they can move from one member state to another. And if you look at that in overall figures, We have, for instance, in the last year had something like 3.4 million citizens of third countries getting residence permits or permits to stay in the European Union, so legal migration, which is what we need. We need for our economy, we need for our culture, we need for our intellect. Is actually probably much larger than the major debate that we have at the moment, which is irregular migration.
Is that you're so long in the politics? Another question, we change completely the future of Europe. How do you see the future of Europe? Or if you see now the evaluation the last year from your side in your career, how does it really look like?
I've been working now for 32 years in the European tradition, and to a certain extent, I think in a nutshell, it's a complicated, it's a frustrating, it's a difficult setup, but it's a wonderful machine to stop wars.
Yeah, maybe that's also, we did not talk about it, it's one of the main issues is peace, that you defend peace in
you defend peace, you make sure that the security inside the European Union is there, but you also speak with one voice. And if you look at the moment at the world, where we have a number of evolutions in terms of politics outside the European Union, I think we are actually a great model also in terms of protection of human rights, in terms of just being able to deal with problems in a multilateral way, of not being only egoistic, but actually thinking also of the overall well-being of the whole world. To take the time, subject of climate,
it's for sure.
All these elements. If you take all that, I think, and because of that, I am very proud that I spent most of my working life working for the European idea.
Great. So last question, it's not to the Director General, but it's more to the citizen Matthias. What do you still want to achieve, private or in your work?
Well, I think I've been in the last 30 years more or less having a very active life. I now want to reflect. Reflection is sometimes quite important, and to a certain extent part of the reflection will also be to discuss and to be available to discuss and perhaps sell the European idea, write books,
like I do it,
do something the way we're doing it at the moment. Be available also to talk about, to also correct certain misunderstandings. I think we have probably developed, and that's the consequence also of the horrible 2 world wars that we've had. We have developed a wonderful model which is worthwhile defending.
Super. Thank you very much for your time, Director General.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure again seeing you.
Thank you. And you outside, thanks like always for listening. You see, the future of Europe looks quite positive. We have to work all together on it, and also going over the borders to understand other people and to be open for this. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Tschüss.
Tschüss.